Hello everyone, Ben Williams here from Old Tin Cup Habitat Restoration Enhancement, and here we are out in the field. Now right now, what I'm doing is I'm out here, got my map with me, my Huntera map, high quality maps, great supporter of me and my clients and everything like that. What I'm out here doing is game planning for a new food plot and hunting area around that. But what I want to specifically dive into is talking about the habitat benefits that we can get and give to the wildlife this time of the year. Now, this area right here, I'm probably about, as the crow flies, about 70 yards or so from one of our new stand locations that we have on this piece of property. But one of the questions that I had when I put out the topic for you guys, and I want to give you guys the content that you want, came in from a buddy of mine, Craig. He's WNY Bowhunter. Go check him out on Facebook. Puts up a lot of good content, posts a lot of great articles from QDMA, some of the other really well-known habitat consultants throughout the country. Puts up really good content there, and Craig's a great guy. So this came in from Craig, and what he wanted me to touch on is apple trees and pruning strategy and stuff like that going into it. Now with this new area in here, there's a few apple trees around the stand location. I actually have one right here, as you can see. Now what I want to specifically dive into with this, before we even bust out the chainsaw, before we even get into it, with how to prune or anything like that, you got to identify that it's an apple tree. Or is it worth saving? So that's what we're going to dive into real quick today. So what I'm standing next to here is, at a quick glance, apple tree right here over my shoulder. Not an apple tree. So you need to positively identify the tree that you believe you're trying to release or prune, whatever it might be, or get rid of. If you can't identify the tree, you shouldn't be cutting it down. Plain and simple, guys. It's not that hard. You look out on a piece of property, you have maybe 8 or 10 trees you have to get familiar with, maybe a handful of shrubs, and you're going to be able to identify 90% of the stuff that's on your property. So get out there and identify it. Some of the similar shapes, as you can see, nice apple tree here. This is actually a buckthorn. This actually has a lot of good browse in it from the grapevine, so I'll probably cut this out because this is going to be a food plot expansion project, and I'm going to be expanding this food plot. I'm going to drop these sumacs. That's going to be great forage. You see all the little berries up there? That's going to be great forage for my turkeys that can come in here. I've seen them fly up and beat these out with their wings before, but that also is a very high quality browse this winter time. So I'm going to get in here with a chainsaw and then come in here after with a mini excavator and then do the rest of the manipulating, getting the work out in the late spring, early summertime. And this will probably have a cereal grain on it this first year. So leaving it behind. I mean, you look up in these old trees a lot of times, look at all this greenbrier and berry bush that's up in these. So a lot of these trees, when you cut them down, there's going to be food down here on the forest floor. I mean, look at all these sumacs I'm going to drop. Got some honeysuckle, some undesirable. We can treat that as it comes to it, but identify what you have. I'll probably drop that little ash tree, but look at all this browse up in there. Look at all that great grapevine that's going to be right down at deer level here within a couple days. So I'll bring you an update back up in here. But first thing first, identify and have a plan, and don't just go out there with a chainsaw and start cutting. The next thing we're going to look at is, just because it works out right here really nice, found a good spot right in a new location we're going to be working on anyway. This is the apple tree we looked at. So what I would do with this apple tree is I'd come at it. You can see it looks pretty good, but there's a lot of grapevine in this tree. So what I would do is I would go around this tree and all these grapevines. This is step one to the pruning process. All these grapevines, get rid of them. What this is going to do, and you're going to see this, is you're going to see what's alive and what's dead in this tree. There's a good couple leaders on it. It's going to be a pretty good tree, especially once we release it and help it out here. And again, people are going to probably say, why are you cutting down apple trees? These other 3 apple trees that are around this tree, I'm probably going to take out. This one's completely gone, obviously. So you can eliminate some of these trees that you might put time or effort into. The first year, just cut these huge guys out of here. This is what's killing your trees. This is what's going to kill your apple trees. This one actually might be worth saving. There's actually a really good shape and crown in this one, and a good couple leader branches. If I cut the grapevine out and I'll see what's alive in it, and then 2 or so years down the road is when I'll start the pruning process. But for most people, that's step one: identify and release. No pruning within that first couple of years, no fertilizer. That way you can see if it's worth continual investment of your time and effort to make that tree produce to the next level, and you don't give it too much right away. Because a lot of times they'll super flush the tree with stuff. You get a lot of breakouts, a lot of stuff because the tree's not used to producing that much, or you'll shock it with too much and kill it. This guy will probably completely drop. It's got mostly dead up top. This one's really choked out by these grapevines. And so yeah, so make sure you're selecting a species that you're trying to save, eliminating species, 100% identifying that you don't want to have at a piece or a location. Like we said, don't want this buckthorn, but I'm going to flush cut it on the stump, let it be stump sprouts. Like I said, this is going to be probably broadcast of rye or maybe even a wheat here. It's a little wet, so probably we'll go rye. And identifying what tree you want to save, and identifying and eliminating competition trees and competition resources like grapevines and all that as well. So that's Ben Williams here from your Old Tin Cup tip of the day. Before we even get the saw out, we're planning with a purpose, and that'll help you be more successful and not waste your time out there on a piece of property. Identify what you want to do with a plan, with a purpose, and then execute that plan and purpose. So we're going to start this area section in here on this side of the piece of property. This is going to be a project coming up. We're going to have a lot of videos on this. We're going to call this one West Side Story, I guess. We'll call this series. We're going to talk about browse cutting in this area, habitat work. Going to drop it, leave the browse for the wildlife right now when they're in the most stress. They're hitting our green food sources pretty good right now, just because there's no snowpack. But if there's a bunch of snowpack like we normally get in New York, that browse is going to be what's feeding them throughout the winter. So we're going to do a lot of stuff. Look at all this. Look at all this stuff that's going to be in this buckthorn. Look at all this briar. Look at all that food that I'm going to put down at deer level. Step one, just like that. So habitat work, guys. Help the wildlife this time of the year. If you can do it with a good plan and good purpose. Drop some trees. Sumac's a great browse species. Box elder, ash, a lot of them are going downhill now anyway. But plan, guys, and plan with a purpose, and always think about it before you do it. And if you can't identify what you're cutting down, don't even pick up the saw and don't even start it. So that's Ben Williams from Old Tin Cup. That's what we're doing today, is a little bit of scouting and game planning. I'm probably going to drop a couple more of these trees. There's a box elder here that'll probably get dropped, and look at all that food, because this is going to be a little extension of a food plot in this area, and we're going to be hunting this from a very long distance away. This is mostly going to be a rifle spot in the future.